Welcome back to the channel. I'm here today in my home gym and I'm going to talk to you about strength training for martial arts, or specifically, at least for myself, for karate. For those that subscribe to the channel or that follow my content elsewhere, you'll know that I'm quite into strength training and bodybuilding alongside my karate. And as a result of that, I get a lot of people asking me how they can structure their training, how they can put their training together, and how they can balance the two things at the same time. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to go over a few of the ideas that I use in my strength training, how to structure your program. We're going to talk a little bit about plyometric exercises and also mobility as well. But first of all, I want to cover a few myths that keep coming up in the comments and just generally in the martial arts community. First of all, is that you could become too muscular or muscle bound. Now this is something I would never worry about, because to get too muscular takes a hell of a lot of time and a lot of extra external substances that most of you will not be doing. So don't worry about getting too big. If you suddenly by some miracle wake up the next day way too muscular, then you obviously cut back on your training and reduce some of that muscle size. But that's not going to happen. I've never seen it happen. I've been training for a hell of a long time, and the muscle gains take a long time to kind of accumulate. Now, another one of the myths is that being muscular makes you inflexible. This is also not true, because they're not related. You can still work on your mobility and increase your mobility alongside strength training. And you see it in films and stuff. Van Damme from Kickboxer doing the splits. Yet he's more muscular than most people would say is suitable for karate or for martial arts. So it's another myth that mobility and the muscle are related. Even if you look on the Mr. Olympia bodybuilding stage, you see some of the competitors getting into the splits and sort of demonstrating flexibility that way. And they're obviously the most muscled people on the planet. Another thing is that a lot of karateka tend to say that you only need to do karate to get good at karate. But this also kind of falls apart really when you look at other sports where the top athletes are supplementing their training with strength and other kind of exercise systems that are going to improve their performance. If you want to be the best you can be, and it's not necessarily as an athlete, you don't have to compete in karate or be a sport karate competitor, but just to improve your karate as a whole, it would be beneficial to add strength training to your routine. And if we look back historically in karate, they used to use exercises anyway. There was strength training exercises in karate long before bodybuilding was even a thing. You see, them holding jars with the fingers, strength training the grip, just general weight training, picking weights up, holding weights on the back, this kind of thing was there in karate long before kind of modern gyms and modern bodybuilding existed. So it's always been a part of karate and of course the martial arts as a whole. Now, the next question that I often get is like, what should I be doing? And to be honest, the answer really is to keep it simple. Stick to the basics. Don't try to reinvent training. The basic things have worked for years and they will continue to work for years. Fads come and go. You get these kind of things where they're using bags with water in to sort of displace the weight and stuff. But this stuff is all just gimmicky really. Stick to the basic exercises, squats, bench press, deadlifts, the basic movements that have been working for years and years and years. All these other things are kind of new ways of extracting money from people. It's just stick to what works and what has worked. Here in my home gym, I've got basically 3 weights. I've got a few machines. I've got a leg press and a cable machine with lat pull down and some cable row type attachments to it as well. So generally, what I do in my training is the simple barbell movements, barbell and dumbbell movements that have always worked since time the training began. It doesn't have to be barbells and dumbbells. You can do calisthenics or any other way of strength training, but keep it simple. Don't fall for the gimmicks and the fads that keep coming up. And you look on social media and you see all these kind of crazy exercises where people are balancing on one foot on a ball while they're doing something else. Stick to what works and what has evidence of working. So on that note then, how do I structure my training and how would I advise you structure yours? I would basically, for at least for a beginner, maybe I'd stick to a full body workout, maybe 3 times a week if you can fit that in. Again, it's always based on what you can fit in. If you can do once a week, then once a week is better than nothing. If you can do 6 times a week, then of course that's that's going to be good as well. But you stick to what you can do, and that's going to be working for you long term consistently. My current program is basically a push-pull legs done twice a week. I've been doing this for quite a while, and I'm continuing to make progress, so it's working for me. And why change what's working, right? I've also experimented with full body sessions, and also like the traditional bodybuilding bro splits, like situations where you'll do maybe arms one day, chest one day, shoulders one day, and so on. But find the program that works for you, and stick with it over time, and results will come. That is the most important thing. There's a lot of videos out on YouTube talking about various different things. If you do this, you're going to get 9% more gains than if you do this. You're going to get 100% more gains if you stick to the workout you originally started. If you never stick to anything and you keep stopping, you're going to get none of the gains. So make sure you're consistent, keep it simple, keep it basic, and progressively overload over time. So in terms of improving performance, what I like to do is stick my compound exercises, the exercises that involve many joints, multiple joints, so squats, bench presses, deadlifts, rows, these kind of things. I'll stick them at the start, and I'll usually stick to a lower rep range. So I'm going heavy with these, 1 to 2 working sets of 6 reps. I'll then follow this up with more bodybuilding volume type stuff afterwards to kind of fill in the gaps elsewhere. So for example, a typical leg day could be squat, where I'm ramping up to a heavy working set of maybe 6 reps. Then I could do maybe a back off set to just add some volume to that squat. I'll then go on to leg press, where I'm doing high rep sets, like 10, 12 reps. Leg extensions, leg curls, Bulgarian split squats, this kind of stuff, where I'm then packing in the volume around that heavy squat. The exercises don't matter too much really, as long as you're covering the basic exercise patterns. And I've listed these in a previous video, but I'll go over them again in this one. We basically need to have a squat action, a hip hinge action, which would be like a deadlift, remaining deadlift, stiff leg deadlift, this kind of thing. A overhead press or a vertical press, a horizontal press, a horizontal row, and a vertical row or pull. This will cover most areas. We could then add some kind of anti-rotation and rotation work to that to kind of cover the core or the midsection as well. If you've got those covered, then you're going to be making progress, and you're not going to be missing out on any areas as such. You're going to be fairly balanced through the whole body. Now, if you want to check out that previous video when I went a bit more into detail about how to actually structure sessions, then you can check that out. I'll put a link in the description of this video. The next thing I wanted to talk about is plyometric exercises. Now, I prefer that you have a strong base first that's built up from the gym, from basic exercises, and then you add the plyometrics on after, because you're building from that base of strength, more explosive strength. So in my experience, I like to add kind of raw basic strength, absolute strength it's called, before adding power exercises later. So you could have a block of strength training for say 2-3 months, and then tag on to the end of that a plyometric kind of focused month or 2. So you're then kind of almost converting that absolute strength into explosive strength. Now, after all this, of course, we need to take care of our mobility. This is the one that's going to kind of counter those people that are talking about being too muscular or losing the mobility. If you're working through good ranges of motion in all your exercises, you're actually going to be improving your mobility rather than reducing it. So the act of strength training through full ranges of motion is mobility work in itself. In addition to this, though, we can also stretch with our static stretching afterwards and the mobility drills that I've shown on this channel previously. As long as you're taking care of mobility, you're going to see no negative effects on your ability to perform your techniques. The final point really is recovery. So in order to sort of put these two together, we're trying to train martial arts and we're trying to get stronger. You need to recover or manage your recovery. In order to manage your recovery, we need to think about where we are placing the sessions throughout the week. Are you going to be training 2 sessions in a day, or are you going to be spreading them out? This, of course, depends on your lifestyle. If you have a lot of free time, you can obviously do those 2-a-day sessions. In which case, if you did, I would probably try to put them as far away in the day from each other as possible. So you would maybe have a morning session in the gym followed by a martial arts session in the evening, with plenty of calories in between and rest to ensure that you're performing at top level in both of those sessions. Otherwise, if you're more limited for time, you could split the sessions and days up. So you could do, for example, a Monday strength session, a Tuesday karate martial arts session, Wednesday strength session, Thursday karate session. And this way, you should hopefully be recovering well. If you're not recovering well, either increase your calories, improve your sleep, or reduce your overall volume in the gym. And finally, of course, we must have rest days in order to completely recover from everything. And that means not doing strength training, not doing any martial arts training. So you could have one day a week where you're doing nothing. You know, maybe some light stretching if you want, or some light cardio, some walking, but generally just a day to recover, not only physically, but mentally, because it's actually quite draining to be training every day. You know, it's good to have a day off where your brain can just focus on different things and enjoy something else outside of training, because you're going to be digging yourself into a sort of a deeper and deeper pit of under recovery if you don't, and you're just going to be harder to recover later on. So make sure that you are giving yourself that break to get that recovery back up, ready to go again and to perform well. So if you enjoyed this type of video, please consider subscribing to the channel. Drop me a comment below. Let me know what you do for your strength training, or if you do any at all. And I'll see you in the next video.